Introduction to Time Traveling and Starting from Scratch by Hoarding. Accidentally, Sui discovered that the jade pendant she was wearing with her was actually a hidden space. As a long-time traveling novel enthusiast, she immediately hoarded a large amount of supplies to prepare. As expected, Sui wore a girl from the 1970s with the same name and surname, embarking on a journey to the countryside. This article has no CP. Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, teacher, didn't I tell you that my child can't be criticized? He needs encouragement at such a young age, and he only knows how to criticize me. Why did he spend money on your training class? Sui, what's wrong with you? How many times have you received a complaint from your parents? I've told you so many times that you should treat your students like ancestors and not as your own. Director, I have to take responsibility for him. He doesn't listen in class and doesn't do homework. I don't care about him. He's even more reckless. Sui said with reason and evidence. That's a matter for the school teachers. Our training institution only needs to satisfy parents. Whether we are responsible or not, let's look at the students. If you can't make any changes, you don't have to work here. Director. Alright, you can get off work now. The director waved his hand and asked Sui to go out. Sui returned home dejected, lay in bed after taking a shower, and thought about what she would do in the future. Is it really going against her principles? Or quit this job? Sui fell asleep thinking about it. Xiaoi, remember to carry this jade pendant with you. Mom, did you buy this jade pendant for me? Yes, this was bought by my mother in the temple. If you carry it with you, you won't be afraid of having nightmares. Okay, thank you, Mom, Xiao Sui said, clutching the jade pendant. At night, Xiao Sui went to sleep with a jade pendant. Suddenly, the jade pendant emitted a light, and Xiao Sui disappeared into the room. In the blink of an eye, she slept in a strange room. Xiao Sui fell asleep with a sweet expression on her face. It wasn't until dawn that Xia Sui returned to her bed. Su Yiming woke up in shock. This dream was too real, and he rarely had nightmares after wearing the jade pendant. Since growing up, Sui took off the jade pendant and set it aside, returning to her previous state. Sui thought it was her own fault. Could this jade pendant really be useful? Where is that unfamiliar room? Sui quickly got up and rummaged through boxes and cabinets to find the old jade pendant. After searching for a while, I finally found it in the box under the bed. Sui held the jade pendant in her hand and carefully examined it. Guanyin Bodhisattva, there was nothing special about it. Thinking seriously, for some reason, one jade pendant fell to the ground and broke. Sui quickly picked it up, but was cut by fragments of the jade pendant, and a scene of dog blood appeared. The blood quickly disappeared, and the jade pendant was restored to its original state. As a seasoned novelist, Sui Wu realized it. Space recognition. That room used to be a space. Sui followed the description in the novel and used her thoughts to enter the space. As expected, Sui appeared in the room of her dream in the blink of an eye. Pushing open the door, you will find endless fields and orchards, where crops, vegetables, and various fruits are also grown. Turns out this house is a rural villa. Sui thought that it was impossible for him to dream and recognize the main space for no reason. According to the development of the novel, he would definitely have to travel through it next. Be well prepared before crossing. Gather supplies. Looking at the fields and orchards in front of me, I don't know if I have to take care of them myself or if I just need to sow them. Sui estimated that she would still stock up on some rice and flour. If she had to farm, she wouldn't do it herself. Rice flour, vegetables, seasoning, and hot pot seasoning should be a little more. If you don't know how to cook, hot pot seasoning is just too necessary. All kinds of meat. I'd like some Xilong Bayo. I like xiaolongbao best, but it seems that xiaolongbao doesn't care how full it is. I need to buy more big dumplings. There are also more soybean milk, deep-fried dough sticks, milk tea, various fruits, brown sugar and white sugar, medicines, clothes, quilts, daily necessities, cosmetics, watches, gloves, knives, hot pots, thermoses, flashlights, etc. By the way, I'm not sure if this space can be preserved. If it can't be preserved, all of this is in vain. Sui controlled herself to leave the space and went to the refrigerator to pick up a dish and put it in the space to see if it would break down tomorrow. After all, in this weather, vegetables will definitely spoil if left in the refrigerator overnight. After finishing, Sui went to bed. According to the novel's urine routine, there was not much time left for herself, and there was still a tough battle to fight tomorrow. You need enough energy to do it. Chapter 2. Bye 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 bye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Sui woke up and quickly took out the vegetables from the space. Upon inspection, not only was they not damaged, but they were also kept cool when placed inside. Therefore, it was necessary to stock up on supplies. Since I started working, I have only saved tens of thousands of yuan, which is definitely not enough. I need to prepare more money, so I can only sell the house. This house was fully paid for by Suyi's father before her divorce. It's not small and has a duplex two-story apartment located in the city center. Although it's not in Beijing, Shanghai, or Guangzhou, it still costs several million yuan. Sui immediately contacted the intermediary to sell the house. The speed of the intermediary is still very reliable, and Sui Hao sold it during breakfast for 3.5 million yuan. That's enough. Sui quickly finished breakfast and said to the boss, "Uncle, are you taking the order?" "What order?" "The list of my father's company cafeteria needs 5,000 baskets of xiaolongbao, soybean milk, deep-fried dough sticks, steamed buns and mantou every day." "So much?" The boss was very surprised. "Is it a big company with a lot of people, uncle? Can we take over?" "Take it, how can we not take it? Then let's deliver it for 1 day first. If they think it's okay, we'll make a long-term reservation. We'll make sure to deliver it to this address tomorrow." Sui handed the warehouse address to the boss. "Good, this is the warehouse that Sui rented in the morning." After the boss agreed, Sui went to the company to resign. After resigning, I drove to sweep the goods. Firstly, rice and flour. Sui arrived at the largest wholesale market and immediately asked for 2,000 bags of rice and flour each, 2,000 portions of brown sugar and white sugar, 100 portions of various seasonings, 500 portions of hot pot seasoning, and some vegetables and fruits, not too much, as there is plenty of space. The market salesperson's mouth was crooked with laughter. "This is a big customer. May I ask if you need anything else? You also need some coarse grains, 1,000 bags of corn flour and sorghum flour, 1,000 kilograms of sweet potatoes and potatoes each, 500 kilograms of red beans and mung beans, 1,000 kilograms of millet, and 5,000 kilograms of eggs. 500 barrels each of vegetable oil and peanut oil. A few beds of cotton quilts, with a simple color and style, not too flashy. Pork, lamb, beef, each weighing 5,000 pounds, chicken and duck each weighing 5,000 pieces, and 100 pieces of various fish to be prepared. 5,000 pieces of milk and 500 pounds of red dates." "Good, do you have any cooked food?" "Yes. 5,000 servings of that cooked food. The most ordinary watch costs a few hundred yuan, 20 thermos bottles, 10 hot water kettles, flashlights, gloves, knives, and batteries, as well as rubber shoes, bucket shoes." "Good, 500 boxes of sanitary napkins, 2,000 boxes of paper towels, 200 portions each of shower gel, shampoo, soap, laundry detergent, and 500 portions of toothbrush and toothpaste." Bowls, plates, blankets, and chopsticks, too. That's all for now, settle the bill and send it to this warehouse. Sue settled the bill neatly and rushed to several milk tea shops. Despite the staff's faint expression, she ordered 500 servings of her favorite milk tea. After settling the bill, she left her address and left. The next step is to buy medication. You can order various medications without paying, just swipe your card. There are also clothes. Sue went to the clothing market and bought clothes for children and adults. She bought dozens of sets from spring to winter, as well as scarves and hats, and bought the most common and old-fashioned styles. When it comes to children, it's necessary to buy milk powder. Who knows if there were children in the past? Just in case, the child is quite capable of breastfeeding. Sue bought 10,000 cans of milk powder and bottles. All I have left to buy is skincare products, buy more. Finally, they finished buying everything they needed, and Sue and others went to the warehouse to wait for delivery. Just close the door and put it in the space. Only breakfast was left undelivered, and Sue returned home. Sue lay peacefully in bed. I think I can rest assured now. No, if we travel back in time, we still have to take the college entrance examination. Sue quickly went online to print out the actual college entrance examination questions and answers from various provinces after the resumption of the college entrance examination. After finishing Sue's work, he gradually fell asleep. The next day, after the boss delivered the ordered steamed buns and mantou, Sue was completely relieved and waited for the arrival of the crossing. After all, the money is almost spent. If it doesn't happen, I'm not afraid to go back to my hometown, where there is a house and several stores. If I can't, I will go back to my hometown to provide for the elderly in advance. Sue thought about leaving a message with Sue's father, so that he wouldn't worry if he found out the person was gone later, but considering that he hadn't been in contact for so many years, there was no need. Chapter 3. Crossing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Sue woke up and looked at the unfamiliar environment around her, realizing that she had traveled through time. Looking at the clothes she was wearing, she thought she should have worn them until after the founding of the country, but she didn't know the specific time. First, check if your space is available and enter a familiar space. As long as there is space, hunger never dies. Only then did Sue have the mood to organize the information in her mind. It is now 73 years, and there are still 3 years left before the resumption of the college entrance examination. The owner of this body has the same name and surname as himself. After his mother's death, the original owner's father climbed up the high branch based on his appearance and married the daughter of the director of the clothing factory. Of course, he did not abandon the original owner and brought her to a new family. But I didn't pay much attention to my daughter either. I don't have fatherly love, so I can't say I'm abusive. My stepmother is also not unreasonable. After all, she's the child of the previous life, out of sight and out of mind. After marriage, they had a son and a daughter, and the original owner became even more marginalized. She had no presence at home, and if it weren't for eating and having her own bowl, everyone would have thought she wasn't there. There is no one left in my family, my mother is an only child, and my grandparents have long passed away. As for grandparents, they have no respect for their original mother, let alone being just one of many grandchildren. Therefore, the original owner was quite conscious, not eating meat even when eating less when possible, not speaking when possible, not adding trouble when possible, and minimizing the sense of existence, even if one day they were kicked out and had no place to hide. The cause of death was that every household's child was required to go to the countryside, and the stepmother was definitely reluctant to let her own child go. After discussing with Su Wei, she directly talked to Su Yi. Zhou Xiaohong looked at her stepdaughter in front of her and felt very eye-catching. I had already discussed with Su Wei to marry her out as soon as possible, but now I am going to the countryside to save myself the trouble of finding a partner for her. Moreover, she has gone to the countryside and the sky is far away. It's not certain that she won't be able to come back yet, and it's possible that she won't see her again in the future. With this in mind, Zhou Xiaohong also looked a little pleased with her and her expression relaxed a lot. As a stepmother, although I don't have maternal love for you, I have raised you to such a big age and I don't expect you to repay me anything. But now it is mandatory to have one eligible child from each family go to the countryside, and I definitely cannot bear to part with Su Lin and Su Fun. You are the only one from our family going to the countryside. Of course, this is not asking for your opinion, it's just notifying you that whether you are willing or not, you must go to the countryside. I have already reported your name. Zhou Xiaohong thought for a moment and added a sentence. Your father also agreed. The original owner remained silent. I will give you 100 yuan, and the Educated Youth Office will also provide a subsidy. You can take your things with you, and there won't be much left. After all, our family's money is not brought by strong winds. Xiaolin and Xiaofan still need money. You can buy what you need yourself. In the end, the original owner could only accept going to the countryside. I am very confused and fearful about going to the countryside, and on the way home, I heard my aunt complain about other children being sent home after going to the countryside, which made me even more frightened and uneasy. Not long after, she, who was already thin, weak, and malnourished, disappeared like this. Remembering the reason why the original owner's parents got married, Sui sighed, not realizing that no matter where she went, she had no kinship. After sighing, you still have to plan for yourself. 100 yuan is definitely not enough. Sui went to the space first and ate a cage of xiaolongbao and a bottle of milk to calm her internal organs. She felt full of security when she saw her ample supplies. Looking at the endless rice fields and wheat in front of her, Sui pondered whether she would have to harvest them herself. Recalling the actions of the female protagonist in the novel, Sui controlled the rice with her mind. Success. Put the machine next to you for shell removal, storage, and seeding. Sui finally breathed a deep sigh of relief, and there was really no need to worry about what she had eaten. Wait until Sui has sorted out all the supplies before leaving the space. Take the time to wait outside for Su's father and Su Wei to finish work. Not long after, Su Wei arrived at the clothing factory after finishing work. Su Wei took the path of his father-in-law and became the workshop director of the clothing factory. Dad. Upon hearing the sound and seeing the person, Su Wei first looked surprised and quickly regained his composure. His eyebrows furrowed unconsciously. Why are you here? I'm not helping your mother cook at this point. Why are you wandering outside? Dad, I'm going to the countryside soon. Can you give me some more money and tickets? My stepmother didn't give me enough. When Su Wei heard that he wanted money and tickets, his daughter, who was already devoid of emotions, spoke impatiently. How much money does your mother give you? 100. 100 is not enough, how good you have to live. Su Wei exclaimed loudly. There's only 100, I have to buy everything else myself, and the tickets are the same. Unable to wait for Su Wei to refute, don't worry, give me another 100 and some necessary tickets. I won't ask for money from you in the future, nor will I come back to disturb your eyes. You don't have to worry about my life or death. Although Su Wei did not abuse the original owner, he also ignored what such a father was doing. Su Yi decided to make a decision for her. How's it going? Su Wei had no feelings for this daughter at all. He thought that his wife and father-in-law had told him several times that he wanted to marry this daughter out early, but after thinking about it, he agreed. Su Yi was a bit surprised when she saw that he agreed. She thought she would have to go through a lot of trouble to get the money, but she didn't expect it to be so easy. Isn't this Su dad the worst? If he doesn't agree, he can only cause trouble, but there's no need to embarrass each other. His physical appearance is still good. Dinner. On the table is a plate of braised pork belly with little meat, fried cabbage and a plate of pickled vegetables. Dad, I want to buy a Dacron dress. Xiao Mei already has it, and I want it too. Su Fan acted coquettishly towards Su Wei. Ask your mother for money, Su Wei said while eating the meat that Zhou Xiaohong had brought over. Mom, is it okay? You only bought 3 dresses halfway through this month when you bought clothes again. Although Su Lin rudely interrupted Su Fan and looked for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, the indulgence on his face could not be concealed. Mom, look at my brother. Su Fan put down her chopsticks, stomped her feet, and shook Zhou Xiaohong's arm. Zhou Xiaohong is almost being shaken. Okay, Mom will buy it for you. I promise our Xiaofan is the most beautiful. While speaking, he sandwiched meat for Su Fan. As soon as Su Yi came out, what caught her eye was the scene of this happy and harmonious family, and the envy and longing that belonged to this body emerged. The appearance of Su Yi did not affect this family either. Playing coquettishly, eating without seeing this person. Suppressing this discomfort, Su Yi imitated the original owner's appearance, holding her own bowl and picking up some pickled vegetables before heading towards the kitchen. After finishing quickly, he returned to his room, tightly closed the door and locked it. Start adding meals. I ate pickled pork with plums, it was really delicious. After finishing, I had a cup of milk tea, which was delicious. Su Yi estimated the time and went out to wash the dishes. Just as she finished washing them, she was called to the study by Su Wei. Here is the money and ticket for you. Su Yi took it over and lightly tapped it. The money matched, and the tickets included grain tickets, sugar tickets, and a few meat tickets. After confirming everything was correct, he prepared to go out. Before Su Yi went out, Su Wei thought about his mute daughter's rare outburst and spoke up. Use your money wisely and be cautious when you're alone outside. Speaking like this may make me uncomfortable, but I continue to say. Remember what you said, even if you write back later asking for money and tickets, I won't have them. You go out. I keep my word. Su Yi thought to herself that Su Wei had become a father once in a while, but unfortunately the original owner was no longer there. This irrelevant remark was of no use to her. Chapter 4. Material Preparation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Su Yi returned to the room and looked at the tickets and money in her hand, but it was still a bit short. Eating is not lacking on one's own, but if you want to have noodles and money, it cannot be lacking, otherwise it will eventually lead to suspicion. There are still some things to buy. Some of the things in my own space are still too new to be used directly. Moreover, according to the development of the novel, after going to the countryside, there will definitely be top-notch educated youth spots, and they will have to move out to live. In this case, human relations and tickets are also indispensable. Tomorrow I still have to go out and find someone to exchange money and tickets. Su Yi slowly thought and gradually fell asleep. The next day, Su Yi got up early and went out before the Su family got up. Su Yi was gnawing on the steamed buns and thinking that she didn't know where the black market was, and it was best to find a worker to replace it to avoid trouble. In this era, only workers are lacking in money and tickets. If it's a worker, you can't change nearby. Everyone knows the neighbors on the street, so you can only look for those who are farther away. Also, one's own attire needs to change, just in case. Fortunately, I have prepared a lot of cosmetics myself. Su Yi found an empty space and simply disguised herself, carrying a basket of eggs and a few pounds of pork towards the workers' dormitory in the north of the county. Near the dormitory, there were many people on the street, including those who went to work and those who bought groceries. Su Yi quickly locked onto a well-dressed white-haired old lady, walked forward, supported her arm, and whispered. "Auntie, I have eggs and meat here, how about you?" The old lady was originally very vigilant. As soon as she heard that there was meat, she immediately grabbed Su Yi's hand. Little girl, thank you. It's not you. I must have fallen this old bone. Come on, come with me, come home and have a drink of water, take a break. Good Su Yi followed the old lady to a residential house. The old lady quickly pulled Su Yi into the house, looked left and right, and only closed the door with peace of mind when no one followed. Girl, what's the price? Su Yi lifted the covering cloth. Auntie, you see, my eggs are top quality and the meat is also very fresh. I don't take advantage of you either. Eggs cost 1 cent without a ticket, 8 cents with a ticket, meat costs 2 yuan with a ticket, and 2 and 8 yuan without a ticket. Any ticket is fine. Here are 30 eggs and 5 pounds of meat. Take a look. The old lady looked at the eggs and meat in the frame, and it was indeed good. She didn't bargain. Wait, the old lady will take the money for you. Girl, this is 12.4 yuan. I'll give you 3 22 young grain tickets and 5 industrial tickets. Can you see if it's okay? Okay, of course I can. Su Yi pays with one hand and delivers with the other. Miss, if there's anything good left, you must find Auntie to exchange it. Okay, Auntie. Su Yi was warmly sent out. Miss, thank you so much today. Take your time. Su Yi smiled and said goodbye. Next, Su Yi processed the same method and exchanged more than 70 yuan, as well as some grain, cloth, and industrial tickets. Su Yi is satisfied. Su Yi returned to the space to change back into her clothes, looked at the clothes she was wearing, and added a pile of junk at home, then walked towards the supply and marketing cooperative. Even in the county, the supply and marketing cooperatives of the 1970s were not much better. Su Yi walked into the supply and marketing cooperative, and as expected, the employees were lazy and indifferent when they saw someone coming. Comrade, hello, how much is that white ready-to-wear garment? Su Yi pointed to her clothes and asked. 10 yuan. The female employee with 2 braids looked at Su Yi with a scrutinizing expression on her face. Su Yi ignored her. What about the fabric? You still need to buy some cloth. It's also good to find someone to make clothes or give them as gifts. 2 yuan, if you want a ticket, buy it or not, don't ask blindly. Su Yi saw that she was getting impatient and smiled. Buy it, why not buy it? Sister, bring me 2 ready-made clothes and a 5-foot fabric. Chenli laughed when she heard her sister, and when she saw that the girl in shabby clothes wanted to buy so much, she kindly advised her. Girl, buying so many things will cost a lot of money. Sister, don't worry, I have money. Su Yi blinked at her. After Li Luo paid the money, Su Yi asked in a low voice. Sister, do you want a scarf? My cousin brought it to me from Haishur. I'm going to the countryside now, so I just wanted to come and exchange some money. From Haishur. Of course, the style is quite new, and all the girls in Haishur are surrounded like this. If it weren't for going to the countryside, I would have planned to keep it at the bottom of the box. How many are there? 10 pieces, if you want them, I don't want tickets. 1 piece costs 2 yuan. I just checked and saw that you still need tickets for 2 or 8 yuan, and it's not as good as my scarf. Chenli thought for a moment and realized that if she had eaten all of it, she would have earned an extra 10 yuan and cloth tickets. The look in Su Yi's eyes instantly became friendly. Sure, but I need to take a look first. If it doesn't work, I won't accept it. Sister, don't worry, my house is not far away. I'll go back and get it now. Su Yi left the supply and marketing cooperative and found a deserted place. She took out 10 scarves from the space and placed the things she had just bought in the space. Sister, can you take a look? Chenli looked at the scarf and touched it. It was so warm, so she immediately decided to leave one for herself. Girl, I'll give you the money now. If you have any good things, you can come to me. Although not all of them may be possible, you can still ask for some. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. My house is right in the alley ahead, turn left. If you have anything to do, you can go there and say it's Chen Li's sister. Okay, thank you, sister. Suyi looked at the sky and decided not to go home to eat the food that couldn't be ordered. She walked towards the state-owned restaurant. As the saying goes, everyone has come, how can we not try the craftsmanship of state-owned restaurants, and we also need to keep some cooked food in the space, as it will take a long time to go to the countryside. Suyi looked at the menu on the sign, comrades, have a braised pork belly, a bowl of white rice, and a tofu soup. A total of 3 yuan and 8 yuan, 2 liang meat coupons and 3 liang grain coupons. Suyi handed over the money. Find a seat for yourself and sit down. Not long after sitting down, the dishes were served. Well, it smells so good. The braised pork belly is even more delicious than that of later generations. It is fat but not greasy. The meat tastes much better. The pork without feed is delicious. Suyi quickly finished the meal and went home. Returning home, the Su family had already finished their meal. When they saw Suyi come back, they didn't ask if he had eaten or not. They just assumed they didn't see it, so they went their own way. Suyi lowered her head and returned to the room. With the money exchanged today, I now have nearly 300 yuan in cash and some tickets in my hands. Based on the current standard of 30 yuan per month for workers, this money is quite a bit, so I don't have to worry about it this year. As for the future, if you can go to the black market, you still need to go there, otherwise you will lose sight of the space, land, and orchards. If you can't go, you'll have to find the worker comrades like today. Fortunately, the place where I went to the countryside is not in the north, nor is it a place like Yunnan where there are 2 or 3 types of things a year. It's Yuzhou. Not too cold or too hot, it only needs to be planted once a year, which is much better than other places. Chapter 5. Educated Youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. 3 days later, Suyi boarded the train to Yuzhou alone with 200 yuan and the ticket given by Su Wei. The Su family seems to have no impact on Suyi's going to the countryside. Those who should go to work and those who should go out to play have fun. Suyi's place of going to the countryside is Yuzhou, under the jurisdiction of Sichuan. The trains of this era are truly indescribable. Fortunately, I was prepared early on. Don't look at such a big bag, it's just a facade. The quilts and other things have long been placed in the space. Suyi finally found her place after enduring countless hardships, and saw that people were already sitting next to her. 3 men and 3 women. Judging from their attire, they should also be educated youth going to the countryside. Comrade, do you need any help? A boy with a Chinese face stood up and asked. No need, I can do it myself. Please let me in. Nonsense, asking you to take it will expose the filling. After putting down her luggage, Suyi chewed on the white pancake she had bought and thought about things. Why eat pancakes? Don't be too conspicuous on the train to avoid attracting interested people, even if you are surrounded by peers. But Suyi was not the one who wronged herself. After finishing the white flour cake, she took out a kettle and drank some water, peeled open a boiled egg, and ate it on her own. Jean Meixia, who was sitting across from Suyi, thought she was a poor person looking at her outfit, but she didn't expect that she not only ate eggs, but also a kettle. Forget the eggs, the hot water kettle not only needs tickets, but also money to buy it. She actually has it. She quickly abandoned the idea of not wanting to deal with Suyi before and looked at the corn flour cake in her hand, knowing that she had also eaten the flour cake. Quickly finished the cake and talked to her. Comrade, are you also an educated youth? Where did you go? We are all from the Tang family brigade in Yuzhou. I also went to the Tang family brigade in Yuzhou. Upon hearing this, Zhang Meixia's eyes flashed with a light. Immediately, he looked affectionately at Su Yi. It would be great if we were together. Be sure to establish a good relationship with Su Yi, see that she eats well, and if you don't receive any money when you go to the countryside, join her. She looks much more approachable than Jiang Chen and the others. Thinking of her parents and younger brother, Zhang Meixia showed strong kindness to Su Yi. Isn't that a coincidence? We're all together, and we need to help each other in the future. My name is Zhang Meixia, from Beijing. Let me introduce you. This is Jiang Chen, from Beijing. Zhang Meixia pointed to a man wearing glasses and a white shirt and said. Su Yi looked over, and Jiang Chen was still eating dim sum gracefully. Well, this family must be pretty good. Jiang Chen stopped his movements and nodded succinctly, hello. Su Yi smiled and bowed back. These are Chen Li and Deng Sha, both from Haisher. Hello comrades. Hello. These are Fang Liang and Zhao Guo, my high school classmates and also from Beijing. Hello. Hello. We will become our own people in the future. Let's establish revolutionary friendship together and make contributions to rural development. Su Yi looked at a few people and gained some understanding of their personalities and family backgrounds when they first met. Thinking of the various intrigues and struggles in the novel, Su Yi frowned. These people don't need to worry for now, they just don't know what the situation of the educated youth center over there is. Su Yi became more and more annoyed as she thought about it. She used to live a good life, but now she comes to a time when everything is limited. Moreover, she couldn't bear the smell of the train, and Zhang Meixia kept talking to her there, feeling even more agitated. Su Yi really didn't want to talk to her, so she just closed her eyes and focused. Act like I'm asleep and don't talk to me. Chapter 6. Captain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. As the surroundings gradually quieted down, Su Yi opened her eyes. Seeing them all asleep, Su Yi sighed and began to ponder what to do next. There are currently no major issues with these new educated youth. You can get closer to them yourself, and if the educated youth there are not good enough, there will be some support. But it is obvious that Jiang Chen is on her own, Chen Li and Deng Sha have a good relationship, Zhang Meixia has a good relationship with Zhao Guo and Fang Liang, after all, they are classmates. Jiang Chen looks cold, you can try building a good relationship first. Zhang Meixia is passionate, but her own advantages are not so easy to take advantage of. The next day, Su Yi took a cup of water and took out some toothpaste to brush her teeth. Just as she squeezed out the toothpaste, Zhang Meixia opened her mouth. Su Yi, I borrowed toothpaste from you, but I forgot to buy it. I brought my toothpaste ticket, and when I got off the bus, I bought it and returned it to you. Sorry, I have a cleanliness obsession and I'm not used to sharing toothpaste with people. Su Yi answered with a helpless expression on her face. Having said so, Zhang Meixia didn't want to be stubborn and forced to borrow money from Deng Sha and the others. Deng Sha is a shy little girl who borrowed toothpaste from Zhang Meixia multiple times but didn't refuse. Ignoring Chen Li's touch on her hand, she gently said. Xia Jie, you can use it. Thank you. Zhang Meixia glanced at Su Yi, pursed her lips, and began brushing her teeth. Before Su Yi's waist was broken, he finally arrived in Yuzhou. Su Yi and them got off the train together, finally found the notice to come and answer, and got on the car that was shaking towards Fulin town. The road is bumpy and the people in the car are also bumpy. Even if it was bumpy, Su Yi would occasionally stop to pick up a few people midway. She was already motion sick and almost vomited when she was stopped and driven. Finally arrived at Fulin town. Su Yi drank some water to recover her spirits and looked around. Well, fortunately it's not worse than I thought. Captain Yang, this is your educated youth. Comrade Jiqing Dian said to a middle-aged man in his 40s holding a cigarette stick. The man known as Captain Yang frowned and looked at the educated youth. Why are there so many people this time? We can't even afford to stay in our educated youth camp. There is still a place from Shangtai village to there. Upon hearing these words, the captain of Shangtai village immediately waved his hand. Lao Yang, I still have to accept educated youth, but they haven't come yet. When they come, our village won't be able to live anymore. Besides, this is arranged for you above. How can we still live in our village? Comrades with educated youth are also accustomed to the shift of blame among team leaders, with a tone of officialdom on their faces, saying, Captain Yang, this can't break the rules. I understand. They'll leave it to me. Young Sanju shouted to Sui and the others, the educated youth from the Tang family brigade, come with me. I am the captain of the Tang family brigade. Put your luggage on the ox cart and follow me. Sui and his group put their luggage on the ox cart, showing a relieved expression. They thought they were going with their luggage, but fortunately they didn't need it, otherwise it would be exhausting. Perhaps due to luggage and concerns that they were new arrivals, young Sanju drove the car very slowly, no different from walking. Captain, how many educated youth are there in the educated youth point? Sui remembered what young Sanju had just said. Originally, there were 10, but 3 were moved out one after another, and there were still 7. There is already a representative for educated youth. If you have anything you don't understand, you can ask her. If it's really not possible, come back to me. Chapter 7. Tang Family Brigade. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Although there were conversations along the way, the distance was really far, and by the end, Sui and his group were no longer in the mood to talk. The first person she couldn't bear was Chun-Li. Captain, how long will we have to walk? It's getting faster, we need to walk faster, otherwise it will be even more inconvenient when it gets dark next day. Young Sanju turned around and looked at their panting appearance, couldn't help but sigh. These few people are weak, too weak. Sui could not help but roll her eyes as she saw young Sanju's expression clearly. Can we blame them for their poor physical strength? I've heard that the Sichuan road is more difficult than reaching the blue sky. The ancients never deceived me. At first, Sui still had the mood to look left and right, enjoying the scenery along the way and the endless high mountains. For Sui, who has always lived in the plain, it is undoubtedly a shock. Later on, as the road grew higher and more dangerous, Sui dared not look to the side. Upon seeing it, there was a cliff below that couldn't be seen to the end. Looking at Yang Sanju's effortless driving of a cart, people in this era are truly admirable. When Sui and the others arrived at Tangjia village, the sun was about to set. Sui looked at Tangjia village, wiped her sweat, and finally arrived. What kind of Tangjia village looks like? Sui is already mentally prepared, but looking at the muddy shoes on her feet and the hardships along the way, she sighs in her heart, this is the true winding mountain road. When I used to see the phrase, study hard, step out of the mountains, I thought it was a metaphor. Because the mountain is not so high, how could it not be flipped over? I didn't expect it to be really realistic. Captain, is this the new educated youth? Wang Pozi was returning from the ground preparing to go back and cook when she saw young Sanju walking over with a group of people. Yeah, take them to the educated youth center now. Wang Pozi's eyes lit up, Captain, my house is right next to the educated youth center. Shall I take them over? Young Sanju noticed the restlessness in Wang Pozi's eyes and immediately became serious when he thought about the matter with the educated youth. No need, I'll do it alone. I also need to carry their luggage. Captain, I'll help you. By the way. Wang Pozi quickly walked to the side of the ox cart and helped Yang Sanju push the cart. Yang Sanju had no choice but to follow her. Comrade educated youth, where did you come from? Wang Pezi immediately took a liking to Deng Sha. This little girl has a thin skin and is easy to take advantage of. Ah, no, she's easy to talk about. You're also dressed well. Oh, I'm still wearing small leather shoes on my feet. Auntie, my home is from Haishar. Dun Sha had a shy expression on her face. Haishar, big city. Sister, your house is pretty good, isn't it? Ah, it's better to be from the city. Wearing shirts and leather shoes, eating is also good. They are chubby and chubby. Unlike us farmers, we can't even afford to eat anymore. Wang Pozi spoke Sichuan dialect with a worried expression. Sister, my grandson not only doesn't even have a decent piece of clothing, but he can only eat some black flour cake and wild vegetables on a regular basis. I've done a lot of harm. I'm already 10 years old, and I still look like a child of 5 or 6 years old, so thin that only a handful of bones are left. As she spoke, she wiped away her tears. Deng Sha reluctantly understood Wang Pozi's words and immediately comforted her, "Aunt, I have some malt milk and some dim sum. They are very nutritious." Sui looked at Deng Sha, as if seeing a little white rabbit walking step by step towards the trap of a big grey wolf, about to speak. "Auntie, where is your grandson? Bring it to me to take a look later." Chen Li interjected and turned to Deng Sha, saying, "Sasha, didn't you say that the dim sum should be distributed to the comrades of educated youth?" Upon hearing that Zhang Meixia, who had originally hung up to watch the excitement and had nothing to do with her own affairs, immediately spoke up. "Auntie, why do I think you're also dressed well? Your clothes are quite new. How could you not be able to eat?" Wang Pezi showed a flirtatious expression, then gave Chen Li a fierce glare, released her grip on the ox cart, and strode forward. After only a few steps, she turned around, looking like she was watching a good show. Sui looked at Wang Pozi with an ominous feeling in her heart. Shouldn't the educated youth spots be very lively? Yang Sanju kept an eye on Wang Pozi's movements and saw that she wanted to take advantage of the female educated youth, but he had no intention of helping. "I am being bullied now. If I don't stand up, there will only be those who are being bullied even worse. It's just that this little girl looks strange and heartbreaking. How about paying more attention in the future?" Yang Sanju thought to himself that when he heard someone helping him, these people were quite united, much better than the previous ones. "I just hope they can continue to unite. Otherwise, the village will only be cleaner. All I saw along the way were mud houses, rarely blue brick and tile houses, and some even used only thatched roofs." Arrived at the educated youth center. "Mom, why don't you cook and follow behind them?" Wang Pozi was seen by her son. "You immortal bored, if you don't eat a meal, you'll starve to death. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up." Wang Pezi scolded her son and went home to cook. Jiqing Dian was originally a house owned by the villagers, with 4 rooms. That person used to be envied by everyone in the village, but unfortunately he went bankrupt later on. Relatives were fighting for the house again, and coincidentally, the educated youth were sent to the countryside to live there. "Lin Fang, have you come back yet? A new person has arrived at the educated youth point, please arrange it." Yang Sanju stopped the ox cart and asked Sui and the others to bring their luggage into the courtyard. "Captain, here we are." A girl with 2 braids and grey clothes walked towards her. Gauzy face, with small eyes and slightly upward corners, and a small mouth, looks difficult to mess with. Zhaoshuyuan.com. This is Lin Fang. "Hello, this is Lin Fang, the person in charge of the Educated Youth Center, who will arrange your accommodation. Thinking that you have just arrived and are so late, you will have a day off tomorrow and start working the day after tomorrow. You will go to the warehouse tomorrow to collect the grain, which is considered as a loan to you. I will deduct it when I settle my work points next year. This is your dinner tonight, our own, and I will treat you as the captain." Yang Sanju handed Lin Fang a sack of grain. Lin Fong looked into the bag and smiled, just like when they arrived. Captain, I know. Are you going back? At this time, other members of the educated youth group also emerged one after another. Sui looked at it, but there was not everyone present. Let's go pack our luggage first, and we'll get to know each other after dinner. Lin Fong handed the grain to Wang Hongmei, gesturing for her to go in and cook, and then turned around to introduce the educated youth to order. There are a total of 4 rooms for educated youth, not including the kitchen, but the rooms are not very large, and all 4 people living together are barely strong. Lin Fong pointed to the room on the left and said, "The 2 rooms here are for female educated youth, while the 2 rooms on the right are for male educated youth. There is a vegetable field behind the kitchen that we take care of together. The dishes we usually eat are all grown here. If you want to eat vegetables, you need to take care of the vegetable garden together. When we eat, we all eat together. Everyone has their own food bags, and we take as much food as we eat for each meal. Rice is done on a rotating basis. If anyone doesn't know how to cook, they will wash dishes and be responsible for cleaning the kitchen. At present, there are a total of 13 people in the Educated Youth Center, including 6 male comrades and 7 female comrades. Everyone, go pack your luggage first, and once you're ready, prepare to eat." Chapter 8. Educated Youth Points. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Sui pushed open the second door. The room was not big. The bed is made of wood, similar to a large bunk, with a mattress made of pine leaves on top. Sui quickly chose a location inside that was close to the wall. There must be a private space, and we will set up a curtain later. Perfect. First, I took out a few pieces of old cloth, borrowed scissors from someone, cut a few holes, strung a rope, and made a simple version of the bed curtain. After finishing these, Sui pulled up the curtain before taking out the blanket from the space and laying it on. After tidying up, Sui took out some essential items from the space and put them in her bag before pulling back the curtain. Put the bag on the ground and start organizing things. Next to Sui is Zhang Meixia. Zhang Meixia first watched as Sui made a curtain with cloth, and then saw a pile of good things in Sui's bag. Dim sum, milk powder, brown sugar, gloves, new cloth and clothes just bought. Her eyes turned red, and she and Chenli were the only ones who had just arrived. The others were all wealthy. Deng Xia couldn't get in there by herself, and Zhang Meixia was determined to establish a good relationship with Sui. "Sui, do you have any more cloth? I'll give you the money, and Chenli and I also want to make a curtain." Deng Xia walked over to look at Xiang Sui. "I still have it there. Although the cloth is old, it hasn't broken yet. You too can give me 1 yuan. Thank you." Deng Xia's voice is soft and sticky. "I agreed beforehand that I wouldn't help with it." "It's okay, Chenli just saw you do it and already knows how to do it." Sui gave the cloth to Deng Xia, thinking she was going to make it herself, but it turned out that Chenli came. Chenli took the cloth and watched Deng Xia's back eating the chicken cake. She stared for a while before starting to do something. Sui, who witnessed all of this, said, "Tsk, they're not as good either. Why should we share our own meat with them as soon as they come? Sister Lin, I didn't have any meat when I came." Lin Fong was so angry at Lu Mei's words that she couldn't help but roll her eyes and didn't think about the situation when you came. Not to mention meat, at that time, the educated youth ordering people didn't even have enough food to eat. Lu Mei, using meat to entertain new comrades is agreed upon by everyone. The minority obeys the majority. If you are not willing, you can separate it out alone in the future. Coincidentally, no one wanted to partner with Lu Mei. It was her turn to cook and either she didn't come back or she was cheating and playing tricks. She has never taken care of the vegetable garden before, and eating vegetables is the most ferocious. What can't we do? Eating is the best thing. I don't have enough food this month. Don't use my food to entertain them when cooking. Lin Fong smiled. We don't need to go out, Captain Grain has taken it. Lu Meikai didn't want to go out alone. As long as she didn't produce food and had a step, she stopped talking. The few people inside the house, you look at me and I look at you, silently speaking. Welcome the arrival of new comrades. This table is very rich. Each person has a bowl of old pumpkin soup, sweet potato and white rice, egg Chinese cabbage soup, fried potato shreds, and twice cooked pork. It has to be said that the cook's knife skills are really good, cutting the meat as small as possible, so that people can divide it into 2 pieces. Lin Fong stood up and introduced herself to the few people who had just arrived. My name is Lin Fong, I have been here for 3 years. If you have anything to do, you can come to me. This is Ma Guodong and Lianjiang, and sitting next to me are Lu Mei and Huang Qiuzhu. Those 2 are Jiang Meng and Zhang Yunbai respectively. They are both old educated youth. In the days to come, everyone will help and encourage each other. Alright, I won't say much more. The dishes are going to cool down, everyone, let's start. After Lin Fong finished speaking, she sat down with a clear goal and sandwiched a piece of meat. Don't hurry up, they haven't eaten meat for half a month. This is the meat ticket they saved to buy. Everyone's goal is very clear. Braised pork belly in brown sauce will be on CD soon. Sui only ate 2 pieces and looked at the clean plate, feeling a bit worried about her future meals. If we all eat together in the future, it will be very inconvenient to add meals for ourselves, and we should not compromise ourselves. But it's okay to do it twice a time. Even if you have more meat, it's not enough to make it. You still need to find a chance to make it as soon as possible. Sui, who had made up her mind, regained consciousness and ate all the vegetables. The new educated youth couldn't compete with the old educated youth at all. Watching their speed of picking vegetables, they were all shocked. Lin Jie, about cooking. Oh, by the way, you can divide it yourselves. Just tell me when you've finished dividing it. The remaining person will join forces with Lu Mei. Everyone heard those words before dinner, and no one wanted to share such a scene. I'm with Chen Li. Dun Sha quickly said. Sui, let's join forces. Zhang Meixia walked up to Sui's side. Sure. Coincidentally, Sui didn't want to partner with Lu Mei either. She was just thinking about whether to go find Jiang Chen when Zhang Meixia spoke up. In this era, it's better to be with a lesbian. The one who came out alone was Jiang Chen. Before Sui could watch the excitement, Jiang Chen had already refused. I can't cook, I'm responsible for washing dishes, or I can go out alone. Upon hearing this, Lin Fong realized how could it be done. As soon as she arrived, she was separated and was discovered by the ants in the village. As an educated youth, there was no hope of peace. It's okay, Comrade Jiang, you should be responsible for washing dishes. Coincidentally, Lu Mei doesn't know how to do it either. You 2 take turns washing dishes. The division of labor was resolved in this way. In the middle of the night, except for frog calls, there is only sound absorption. Sui lifted the curtain and stood up lightly, using the moonlight shining through the window to confirm that Zhang Meixia was asleep before entering the space. I'm starving to death, and the little food I ate at night didn't make me hungry at all. It was not easy until everyone fell asleep. Sui quickly ate a kung pao chicken meal and drank a cup of milk tea. After gargling, she left the room. We need to find a reason to move out quickly, otherwise we won't be able to sneak around like this every day. Sui was woken up by the sound of the gong at work. She went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to get dressed and wash up. Upon walking to the main room, they saw that the food had not been cooked for them. Sui glanced at the boiled sweet potatoes on the table, but she didn't have an appetite. She wanted to go back to her room to eat. Why didn't you cook our food? What are we eating? But John Meixia has already started shouting. Why do we make it for you? Grain doesn't fall from the sky, and you haven't given it. How can we do it? Yesterday, the captain gave it to me. That big bag, it's gone. Jean Meixia doesn't believe it. Today is the meal cooked by Su Meng and Ma Guodong. I finished eating last night. You ate 2 big bowls yesterday, why are you trying to break even? Su Meng said while eating sweet potatoes. Besides, the food is not just for you to eat, everyone has also eaten it. The captain of the grain brigade was clearly talking about our rations. Did you say it? Why didn't I hear it? Lu Mei, did you hear it? I didn't hear either. After eating everything, let yourself vomit, Lu Mei won't do it. When they arrived yesterday, Su Meng and Lu Mei were not there. Jean Meixia didn't expect these 2 people to have such thick skin. She looked at the others on the table, hoping that someone would come out and speak fair. But she was disappointed. The people on the table pretended not to hear and only focused on eating. Lu Mei looked at it and felt happy. Why, I want to eat it. I'll give it to you, and when you get the grain back, you'll give me a double. As soon as Jean Meixia wanted to argue, Su Yi took her hand. No need, you guys can eat. I still have dim sum. Let's eat some food first, and then go to get food after eating. After speaking, pull Jean Meixia back to her room. Chapter 9. Grain Storm. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, what are you pulling me for? I have to make it clear to her. Although Su Yi wanted to give herself dim sum, Jean Meixia was disgusted by the behavior of those 2 people. This is only the first day, we're going to argue. Then we have to argue every day and waste our energy. Just a little grain, it's not what you gave. I'll get the grain later, so I won't argue with them. Yesterday you didn't hear me and couldn't get along with someone like her. No need. Although her words were reasonable, Jean Meixia still couldn't swallow this breath. Except for home, there is only one who takes advantage of others, and no one else takes advantage of oneself. What's going on here? Seeing Jean Meixia come back angrily, Deng Sha asked with concern. It's okay. Su Yi opens the dim sum bag. They didn't make breakfast for us. Jean Meixia wished everyone knew about their actions and would condemn them together with herself. As a result, Deng Sha said. If you don't make it, then don't make it. What could be delicious? I don't really care about sweet potatoes and potatoes. It's better to have some chicken cake on your own. Jean Meixia became even angrier. Of course you don't think it's a big deal if you have a cake, but I don't. I brought some dry food and had already finished it on the way. If you don't eat, you'll get hungry. Su Yi distributed dim sum to Jean Meixia and said to them. Did you eat it? Bean paste cake. It tastes good. Shenli smiled and waved her hand to refuse. Dun Sha quickly nodded, if you want it, I'll trade it with you. I'm almost vomiting this chicken cake. Sure, you can take it yourself. The taste is not really wrong. Where did you buy it? How does it feel even better than what I ate in Haishur? I bought it from my county supply and marketing cooperative. Of course, can it be delicious? This is the bean paste cake of the time. Honored Guofangshai, a box of several hundred yuan. Meixia, are you going to collect the grain? The voice of Zhao came from outside the room. Go, here we go. Jean Meixia replied, then turned her head and said, let's go collect it together, with their boys, and we can ask them for help when the time comes. Well, good. Sui and a few others have no objections. After leaving the door, a few people walked towards the house pointed out by the captain yesterday. Hello comrade, we are new educated youth who are here to collect grain. You just arrived, right? Your grain is considered borrowed from the team, and your work points will be deducted later. Brigade Accountant Wang Zhongming said. You each weigh 20 pounds of potatoes and sweet potatoes, and 30 pounds of corn flour. First, press your fingerprint here, and then go and collect the grain. Wang Zhongming looked at the few people in front of him and continued. Grain is usually exchanged for work. If you want to buy grain, you have to wait until the village has finished distributing it and buy the remaining. Everyone had no objections and pressed their fingerprints to collect food. It's good to be with the boy, otherwise it would take a lot of effort to get the food back. Of course, being busy is not for nothing. Su-yi grabbed a few big white rabbit milk candies and distributed them to the male-educated youth as a way of expressing gratitude. Seeing this, Deng Xia also gave them dim sum. Zhang Meixia gritted her teeth and went into the house to brew a large bowl of brown sugar water, handing it to Zhao and the others to drink. Looking at the grain received, without rice and not accustomed to eating cornmeal, I decided to go find someone to exchange or buy some. I'm going to the town to buy some food and things. Do any of you want to come together? I'm with you. It was indeed Deng Xia who spoke up. I can't stand it either. Let's go then. Zhang Meixia stared at their backs in a daze, unsure of what she was thinking. The two of them walked out of the educated youth courtyard and headed towards the town. It is said that going up the mountain is easier than going down, but Su-yi feels that going down the mountain is easier but harder. It took me a lot of effort to walk up yesterday, and today I arrived at the foot of the mountain town not long after walking. Chapter 10. Black Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. As soon as she arrived in town, Su-yi found an excuse to separate from Deng Xia. I still have to go to the black market, and I can't sell all my watches to the workers. After wandering on the street for a long time, I realized that it should be the place of the black market. Su-yi observed beside for a while, and the people who came out were all looking around with nervous expressions, which made her feel at ease. Don't rush to the black market. Go to the state-owned hotel to have a meal first. The dim sum we ate in the morning has already been digested. Looking at the pickled Chinese cabbage, spicy boiled fish and Mao Shuowang on the brand, Sui Hao did not hesitate to order a portion, and then ordered a bowl of white rice. Thinking of the taste I had while traveling to Sichuan and Chongqing, my mouth was almost watering. I couldn't eat at all in Danxi. I couldn't wait to take a bite, and it tasted authentic. Satisfied with her meal, Sui went to the restroom to change clothes. When he came out, he walked towards the black market carrying a basket. Sui plans to sell a few watches and meat. Sui followed an ant and entered an alley. Just as I turned the corner, I was stopped by someone. What are you doing? Coming to sell things. Let me take a look. Sui lifted a corner of the basket and showed him the pork. 2 cents, go in, turn left to the second household, Baopelong. Sui. This code. Bull. Surprisingly, using someone who curses as a secret code is really impressive. Although Sui is not from Sichuan and Chongqing, how could she, who loves surfing the internet, not know the insults from Sichuan and Chongqing? Su-ili paid the money and walked to the house that the person had mentioned. Knocked on the door. Inside. Who? Su-i. Baopelong. If it weren't for the money, how could I say I'm Baopelong? After matching the secret code, Su-i successfully entered the door. This is a large courtyard with 3 entrances, and more than 10 people are setting up stalls on the road. Sui found a spot for each person and placed the basket on the ground. What are you selling? Not long after, a man came to ask. Pork and watches. Watch. Show me. Sui decided to buy the worst quality one, but the worst quality ones are all very exquisite here. How many do you have? The man excitedly asked. I'm just here to try my luck and see if there's anything I can give as a gift, but I didn't expect to be bumped into by myself. If I give the watch to the director and take another piece as a dowry, her father won't stop me from getting married to Xiaoli, and I can also become a formal worker. 10 yuan, do you want it? Sui doesn't plan to sell too much. The man was first excited, and then he made a mistake. He didn't bring so much money in tickets with him, so he could buy at most 3 yuan. But if you don't buy, you're not willing to accept it. Who knows if you'll come across it again. After passing this village, there won't be this store anymore. If you buy everything yourself, besides giving away gifts, you can also make a profit by reselling it. This female comrade is not very old when she hears the voice, so she can lower the price herself and earn more. I'll buy 3 yuan first, 100 yuan, plus 5 industrial tickets. You don't want to sell the rest for now, I'll go back and get you the money. Sui silently stared at him and said, Big brother, you treat me like a fool. 100 yuan, if I hadn't gone to the supply and marketing cooperative myself, I might have agreed. The man being stared at. Why is it a bit empty? 102, plus 5 industrial tickets or 5 other tickets. No bargaining. Man. So I'm just a fool. Line. I can only wait for you for half an hour, I have something else to do. Half an hour is fine, my house is not far away. After the man left, Sui waited for a customer to buy pork. How much does pork cost? Don't vote for 2 and 8 yuan. Auntie didn't hesitate to see how fresh the meat was, I'll take it all. A total of 5 pounds, 14 yuan. What you want is what you want. Not long after selling the meat, the man returned. He couldn't raise so much money in a short period of time, so he found 2 people to eat these 7 watches together. Although it was split out, it was sold without any tickets, and everyone had to rush to get it, so they could also make a small profit. Hand in the money and hand in the delivery, Sui hands over 1,200 yuan. Still selling watches to make money, I knew I should stock up on bicycles. 3 turns and 1 sound, it's popular now. Sorry for the past.